just like that, we lit like a match. I was flying like an eagle. Gave me that rush, the sweetest buzz. Should have been illegal.
Brittany, thank you so much for speaking with me. And I always feel like these days, for the last couple of months, I'm always apologizing to the people I'm speaking with and also to the folks who are listening on Radio Play Entertainment Media, because usually in an interview like this, we probably would have done it in person, because you probably would have been in Toronto. You would have been, touring and talking about your new single and performing here in Toronto in one of our great venues. But of course, it's a different world right now with the COVID-19 pandemic. So, and also, too, in the last couple of weeks as we speak, too, racism is in the forefront. People are finally talking about this, and we're seeing what the reaction has been. How are you doing throughout all this? And give me your thoughts about dealing with the pandemic, seeing what's going on right now where, racism is in the forefront. What do you think about all this?
I mean, definitely a crazy time. I think we can all agree on that. But in a way, I feel like it's a much needed time. There's just so many, if there's any silver lining in all of this, is that we're seeing issues that need to be talked about and dealt with, and there are changes that need to be made. So for me, I think it's just because we're all at home, we're all kind of in this, limbo, and we're on our phones probably a lot more than we would be if we were working and such. We're at home and we're able to spend some time reading and seeing what's going on and actually talking about what needs to change. So, unfortunately, a lot of, lives have been taken through this time, but at the same time, I think it's going to hopefully lead us in the right direction.
I hope so, too, definitely. As an artist and as a performer who, like I said, it's summertime, you would have been touring. How has the pandemic affected your career?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's tough. I'm an artist who has always had 2 jobs or 3 jobs, so I'm okay in that sense because I'm leaning on job number 2 at this point. But for me, scheduling wise, it's odd because I'm a creative person. It's rare for me to just sit at a desk all day and work, or sit at home all day and work. So I find that's probably been the hardest for me because I love being in the studio. I love working with other people. I love creating. I love being on a stage. I love sharing that connection with an audience. So to kind of go from that type of work to just being home alone all day is very different. So I'm excited to get back on the road and get back in the studio and just, I feel like at this point, when I do get that chance to be with other musicians and an audience again, I won't take it for granted. I think it'll be a much more moving experience moving forward.
So keeping that moving experience going, you got a new single out. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Were there any thoughts about, should I hold off on releasing this during this time? Or was it a thought of, people are having a tough time, they need something good to listen to, and let's put this out?
Well, we released it in February, and the timing couldn't have been just more perfect. It was right before all of that kind of kicked in. And so, in a sense, none of that had crossed our minds, and towards March was when the pandemic started. And thankfully, we've had so much wonderful support from media and from radio and from audiences, both in the U.S. and Canada. And to be honest, it's given me that little bit of, hope and faith throughout this, that I'm on the right path. And we just kind of keep getting these little wins. And, it's just been, it's been keeping me going, the little song that could, the little song that's just going. So, for me, it's been good. And, I look forward to releasing the next single too. And, keeping things moving.
What you said, the little song that's good, keeps moving. That's kind of like your career, too, because reading up and learning about all the stuff that you were doing, I was going with, what? But I had to look back to go, she did what? She did this.
Yeah.
She moved, what? So I don't really know what your career has become and why we are talking, because it's a Disney story in a lot of ways to me, I think. Now, originally, I want to make sure, you're originally from Montreal?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the Montreal country music scene, and how did country music come to you? Because you don't, I mean, I've talked to, in the last 2 years, several artists from Montreal who are country artists. But before that, I would never have put country music and Montreal together.
Well, you know what? Neither did I when I first started in country music, and which is why I left. So about 10 years ago, I left for the States, and you know, I love country music. My parents listened to it growing up, so it was there. Shania Twain was my first concert. I didn't really start to pursue it until like midway through college, and then that's when I moved to Nashville. But Montreal didn't have a scene as far as I knew. And to be honest, I didn't, at that time, I was young, I didn't know how to explore that. So, you know, little to my knowledge, there's a Quebec Western scene. Like, in the French market, it's huge, Western music, and it's really more traditional country music, so it's not necessarily the new country. However, I moved home about a year and a half ago now, and like you said, like all of a sudden I'm starting to see, you know, that there is a scene cultivating here, and that there is an audience that's showing up for it. And so, you know, for me, I feel like I couldn't have come home at a better time, because I kind of get to be a part of potentially a new wave of country music coming out of Montreal. So it's kind of exciting. You know, it's still very new. It's still very young. And I think there's some great artists. And I'm hoping that what I've learned in the Nashville scene, I can bring to this scene. And as far as creating a community, and making it, you know, building it together, not necessarily a competitive market, but a community market.
Let's go from what did moving to Boston and moving to Nashville do for your career?
To be honest, it really solidified what I wanted to do, because initially I had applied to go to Berkeley, and I applied to go to McGill, and McGill was not in their music program, because at the time it still is more classical and jazz oriented, and Berkeley had a songwriting program, and like for me I love writing songs. I've been writing them since I was 7, and I still have those papers, but for me that was kind of a deciding factor. And I had gotten into McGill to be a history high school teacher, and then I got into Berkeley, and I was, you know, that was kind of my the thing that decided that music was what I was going to pursue. So moving there and doing that, and also just the sacrifice of that, like moving away from my family, you know, kind of putting them through that. Going to school in the States isn't the most isn't cheap by any means. So, you know, it was kind of a big sacrifice for myself, for my family, and you know, it really pushed me to push myself even further, and to not give up.
You definitely didn't do that, because 2 words, the voice. How does those 2 words connect with you? And it's actually something that's a landmark too. Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah, I mean, that was not, that whole experience was not something that I ever thought in my wildest dreams I would live through. I'd watched, you know, some of the shows. I'd watched American Idol here and there when it first came out. I'd watched The Voice when it first came out, but I'm not a big TV watcher in general. Like, I have my few shows that I watch, but even that I'm just, I don't know, not in touch with that world at all. And initially I had auditioned to just to do it for experience. For me, like, I am the kind of person that rarely says no to any opportunity. So if it's something there, I'm going to try it. I'm going to see it through and get the experience. And that's kind of why I did it, because at the time I was focused more on songwriting and going to publishers and like performing on a one-on-one basis. And I knew that audition process was similar, jumping into a room, performing, and I wanted to break that anxiety. I wanted to get better at performing one-on-one. So that's why I did it. And it kind of, you know, worked in my favor. They kept just putting me through, and each round of auditions, I just kept saying to myself, okay, I'm just going to put on a good performance and let it be, and, you know, enjoy the ride. And thankfully it was really great and good experience, and led me to a lot of other opportunities that I probably wouldn't have had without that show behind me.
So now, having all of this together, what kind of team did you build? And leading into what we're going to talk about, this new single, how did we come from there to here?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long road. I've constantly looked for my champion, that person that is just going to believe in me, work with me, and I've met a lot of champions along the way. I've had a wonderful support system. I've met a lot of great musicians, producers that have challenged me and pushed me in directions I never thought I would. And so over the years, like learning, one of my biggest lessons was learning to let people do what they're good at. And I've tried so many times to kind of control certain areas of my career. And finally, I've learned that lesson, to build a team with people that I trust and I can let them do what they're good at. And to me, that brings just the most positive energy, because they're happy that they get to share and bring their ideas and their experiences. I'm happy because I get to bring mine as well, but it just becomes kind of a big pool of creative, positive energy, and a team of people that want to push it forward and excel, rather than backpedaling and controlling it, and just creating a fun environment for people to work in, and letting each other enjoy the experience and the ride, and seeing where it takes us. So that's kind of how I've focused on building the team that I have now, and I really love the people I get to work with, and I just want to have fun. I just want it to be a happy, positive work environment.
Okay, so what's the new single? What's it called, and what's it about lyrically?
Okay, so the new single, I'm so excited about this one. The new single is called You Don't Get Me Stoned. And I wrote it in Nashville in February. So it's been a quick turnover. Wrote it, and, Joelle, my manager, we both fell in love with this song and decided to record it immediately. And this song really is, again, I'm kind of trying to stick into this world of female empowerment. With my first single, Remarry, it was very much a song about wanting to, let women know that you're in a situation that you're not happy in. Like, it's okay to move on. It's okay to get out of that. And that goes for men and women. It's not just for women. But I think in this day and age, we need to hear that, societal message, because I think so often we're forced to believe, like, oh, this is the person I'm married, this is the person I'm stuck with, and that's it. Well, not necessarily. That, sometimes you learn, and sometimes it takes that second or third person that you end up with, so, and it's okay.
True love comes more than once, and it ain't nobody's business. And the only one is your only one. Don't need no one's forgiveness. Yeah, all our things just end up buried, and since it's only temporary, gonna eat, drink, and remarry.
This song is kind of in that same vein of just the woman speaking out. And again, it goes both ways. But for myself, from this experience of wanting to be the person that speaks up and says, you know what, this doesn't work for me. And I'm going to be honest and straightforward about it. And, I've had several experiences where that's not the case, and, people get hurt and it drags on. And I just want to create a song that is honest, and that is true, and that's fun and lighthearted and understanding of both parties. And so, it's kind of a fun, got a Sheryl Crow vibe, summer vibe, and it's I'm really excited for it.
Hey, you don't get me stoned like you used to do. Hey, you don't get me high like you did before. It's over and I'm sober, not even that hungover. Why roll it up if I'm just blowing smoke? Hey, you don't get me stoned.
EP album with this?
Yes, we're definitely working on a project. At this point, with so much time off, I feel like, I'm writing so many songs, and who knows what that EP will turn into, if it'll turn into an LP, but definitely working on an EP for sure. Hopefully fall, if not fall, definitely early next year.
What about social media performances? Anything like that happening? Live stream performances, I should say.
I've done a few. I'm trying to think if I have any lined up. I don't know if I have any lined up at the moment. At this point, I'm actually just working on collaborating with some Montreal country artists and just recording and covering some of our favorite songs and some of our favorite locations around the city. And so that's kind of what I've been working on as far as collaborating and live content and online content.
All right, but social media is the place to go. Where do we go to follow you on all your platforms?
Yeah, so you can find me at Brittany Music, Britty Music, or if you just type in Brittany Kennell, 2 N's, 2 L's, you should be able to find me there on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff.
Fantastic. Brittany, thank you so much for making time to speak with me.
Thank you so much for having me, Rudy.
You, like I said, what an incredible story, and I'm looking forward to talking to you more as the story continues. Be safe, and hopefully at some point you and I will be able to talk in person. I'm looking forward to that.
I would love that.
Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.